Hello, beautiful woman.
Hello.
The first video we've done together in a while.
I know, we haven't been together on our timeline. We haven't been in the same country. But we are now.
So we want to talk to you about the stories that you're carrying around, particularly around success. And when we say success, we mean doing all those things that are really important to you well, doing them well. What does it mean to be successful for you as a mother, in your work, in how you're seen in your everyday life?
Yeah. And so a lot of these stories aren't necessarily the ones that, they will come to mind when we ask you the questions to bring them to mind, but you might not have them floating around in your conscious awareness all the time. In fact, they're often sitting in your subconscious mind, where they are the major drivers driving all your actions. So they're like really, really powerful, and they're driving the inner voices that tell you you're not doing enough, you're not doing this right, or
if you try that, you won't do that well enough, you'll fail.
Yeah. In fact, your inner critic draws largely on a lot of these unconscious stories that you've picked up, and for some reason, whatever it was, it doesn't really matter, made as truth. Okay, part of your mind is often because you've heard them enough, right? So if your mind hears something over and over again, this is what the brain does, it catalogs it as truth. Right? It goes, oh, okay, we've heard this before, this must be, yep. Okay, so any messages that you've heard over and over and over again are certainly ones that are going to fall into this category. So we want to ask you some questions here so you can get a feel right now for what are some of those potentially you're not even aware of, but stories that are driving you. And they're driving your critical nature, and they're driving a sense of overachievement, of like overwhelm, of stress, of perfectionism, of not being enough, of not ever doing enough. All of that is coming from these stories. So it's important to identify them, because we need to identify them and bring them to the light, and then we can start to change them into something that's actually really more meaningful and real for you.
And also especially because once you've identified them and brought them into the light, like you're conscious of them, you have way less of a kind of angsty or intense or stressful or combative relationship with them. You can kind of just smile at them and go, I kind of look at that funny thing that's there again. Like, I recognize you.
Yeah. And some of these stories, when you bring them to light, when we ask you these questions in a second and you just let the answers float into your head straight away, there will be another voice within you in a lot of the cases that goes, I don't even believe that's true. Like, there will be, right? They're not necessarily things that are your whole truth by any means, but they are stories that you've heard and taken on as truth, and that are actually driving you and your choices and your decisions and your behaviors. Okay, so some of the questions, we're just going to riff off each other here, but okay. Growing up, what did it mean to be successful? What did it look like? Just whatever floats into your awareness.
And what has, also growing up, but you've brought it into now as well, but what has felt like really not okay or bad to be doing or be acting like? Like, what's felt
like failure? What would be a sign of complete failure?
And you feel that in your body.
And that voice who's committed to it is like, this can never happen at any cost. This would be terrible. All right, here's another one that's really important for our tribe here. What does it mean to be a good mother? What does that mean? And just notice what's popping up. It's just, there'll just be sentences, snippets that are popping up.
And trust what comes.
What does it look like to be powerful and in command of your life? Any others popping up?
I'm sitting with it and I'm not having any right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all of those,
they're really good ones.
Yeah.
And I've got one more I'm going to add. What does being busy mean? Yeah. So for me, being busy, and my parents were really busy, means they were really successful doing important stuff, you know, like, so what does busy mean to you? And remember, the first thing that is popping up, just the underlying unconscious ones, those are the ones that are actually driving your behaviors. It's not the surface ones that have a bit of conscious thought and some higher divine connection to, it's not those ones, okay? It's the ones that just kind of pop up instantaneously when we say those things, okay?
And connected to what does busy mean, you could also explore what does productive mean.
And of course, what does successful mean? Yeah. Okay, so now just pick one of those phrases, even one thing that floated into your awareness, and take a look over your week, just the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 days even, okay? And have a look and see, how is that statement showing up in my life? How is that influencing my choices, my decisions, my behavior, my actions, and my inner voice, my inner mind chatter on how I talk to myself? And just listen and just sort of reflect on that and see everywhere the little tiny ways that that comes in.
And be open to doing that throughout the next few days. Like, just gently bring this intention into your day, and you'll notice these voices more, and you'll also notice these voices more with that energy of kind of a curious investigator of like, look what's going on. And
there it is again, because now you've got the awareness, you're going to see it and feel it. And what I want you to do is, while you're thinking of that phrase right now and sort of reflecting on, whoa, yeah, that kind of shows up here for me and here for me and here for me, just feel in your body how you feel really connected to that energy right now. And my guess is that you feel slightly contracted, that you feel a little tenser, that you feel a little zingier, faster moving, more urgent, or, you know, just whatever it is for you, feel it in your body, okay? Because that will help you recognize it too. And it's actually the energy you keep running every time you trigger that story in your body. And so if you're someone who is dealing with stress-related issues of some form, then you really need to start learning to tune into, when am I triggering stress and adrenaline and cortisol in my body? And a lot of these unconscious thoughts will absolutely be triggers, for sure.
yeah.
So the last piece we want to bring today is, instead, we want to ask you a more empowering question. So take a breath and just let the unconscious stuff go for a second. You've got the awareness now, which is what you needed. And so now, what, from a place of conscious choice, from a place of heart, from a place of expansion and what lights you up, okay?
Which can also include love for all of that stuff that seemed unconscious in the way, like.
And can absolutely include your work in the world and cleaning the house and that sort of thing, okay? So, but from that place of, this would make me feel really good in my body today, what does success need to look like for you today? Okay, what would it look like if you got to the end of your day with conscious choice, feeling good in your body? What would success look like for you? Okay, I can pretty much guarantee you it's not going to look like any of those unconscious stories.
And it's not necessarily going to look like how the person next to you sees success for today. It's very personal.
And it's not going to look like how success is going to look like for you, heart-driven, tomorrow, right? Sometimes success is giving myself a ton of love and space and peace and taking the day off. And sometimes it's, I'm like so on fire and I'm going to complete these videos and do this stuff and whatever, right? But the trick is, you've got to understand what feels good in your heart and what is lighting you up. This is the right place to be determining your success, not the unconscious drivers that you've picked up along the way through conditioning and habitual kind of messaging. Those aren't your true navigation for success, and they're creating stress and overwhelm and chaos, perfectionism, like even procrastination, right? If they're too much for you, they're not what you need to be taking the steps to lead you where you really want to be going. So,
and so bring this into your days. But also, if you want to go a little further on this, or if you feel like, well, yeah, I'm kind of getting there, but there's some blind spots, or
you
really
feel like, oh, yeah, this is something I need to know, but I feel kind of blocked. I wasn't totally clear when we were doing that. Nothing clearly jumped up and popped out for me.
Then book in for a free session with us. We've set up spaces in our calendar for women who aren't our clients. There's like no financial commitment for them, where we want to help you get clear on what your unique stories are. Because often we can't always see it ourselves. Like we're relational beings. We often need to actually have someone else there with us in order to see what is unconscious. Like that's just the way it is.
Yeah. And have someone ask the right questions and reflect back and go, is that really what you meant? And, like get clearer and clearer. That is something that we can do for you easily. Seriously, we do it all the time. So if that is something that appeals to you, then there is a link in the description. Book in, find the time. They're in your time zone, so find a time that works for you. And we would love to connect with you and reach out. And if you haven't yet joined Spacious Woman, which is our Facebook group, we'll put the link in the comment, and you're welcome to come and hang out in a community of hundreds of women now. It's pretty amazing, who are committed, devoted working mothers who love their children heart and soul, who are often trying to juggle the stresses of raising your children and doing work outside of that, and how that all fits.
And also who are really, even though sometimes you might have neglected it or feel like it's far away from where you've been, but who are really committed to reconnecting with themselves and with spirit within them and with a sense of meaning and purpose.
Yeah, and bringing that to how you parent your children and how you show up in work in the world, and how to not get into overwhelm and stress and there's just no room in my life for anything. Then you should come and be in our group with us. We would love to see you there.
We'd love to get to know you.
Okay, much love.
Bye.